Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's CallTalk Caramel. We're going to be talking with David Lawson, co-founder and CEO of Call Simulator. David has been an entrepreneur focused on technology, data insights, and training for decades. He's the author of a book, Big Good, Philanthropy in the Age of Big Data and Cognitive Computing. And he designed one of the first AI for good applications using IBM Watson, both at the event in Las Vegas back in 2016. Those were good days, huh? And he's now most recently co-founded Call Simulator, which provides conversation training as a service to call centers. And he uses a combination of conversational and generative AI to create immersive training experiences. And for this Call Talk Caramel, video caramel, we're going to just focus on a couple of the many issues that David has great insights on. One of them has to do with the simulated training. So he's specialized in simulation training, and he has some really good thoughts about simulation training with some good comparisons to other industries, and also some ideas with regard to how it can benefit you in terms of a good ROI that you can actually demonstrate to your bosses as you try to get some little pieces of AI into your center.
Hey, okay, well, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, thanks, Bruce. Yeah, simulation training, the good news is it's been proven across industries. Probably the most well-known is a flight simulator. It's also used in the medical field to allow doctors to practice operations before they practice on us. And that's one of the big things to me, simulation. Why don't we practice on AI and not on humans? A lot of training in a call center ends up being with live customers. And so what we end up doing, of course, we nest people with them, trying to make it go as well as possible. But a lot of the actual experience training happens with a customer. So imagine in a flight simulator, if you were, instead of a flight simulator, you were in an actual plane. Well, then a crash obviously has a lot more consequence. So one of the things that simulation training does is it creates a safe learning environment. And here's what I mean by safe. Once the learner recognizes that this is fake, it actually opens up their brain. The other thing is traditional role playing is often done with your boss or maybe with a more experienced colleague. That's actually very intimidating because you're in part of your brain, and it's kind of the flight and fright part of our brain, the oldest part of our brain, is kind of like, oh, am I going to get this job? Am I going to lose this job? Am I going to look silly? And of course, if you're doing it in a group, now you've also created what really is public speaking. It's not actually simulating what you're going to do in a call center, which is a much more ironically introverted thing because I don't have to see you. So I can actually be very animated while I talk on the phone, but I don't have to be with you. The other thing that we're seeing is more and more tools are coming into the call center. Exciting. It's what they call real-time agent assist. Fantastic. But then you have what's called, what I like to call the 737 MAX problem, which when that plane came out, Boeing said, it's so amazing, the technology's so advanced, you don't need any additional training. Well, of course, tragically, that was proven wrong. I think the same thing's true with all of this technology we're giving people. It doesn't matter how great it is, it's going to overwhelm the agent unless we give them a chance to practice. Now, that leads us to something else about ROI. When you look, the huge turnover in our industry, 40, 50%, 25 to 30% of that, based on exit surveys, was actually caused because the agent did not feel properly trained. If we could just move that needle by having them be more confident, more ready, call one, that right there would be enough ROI to more than justify. Then you look, of course, at what's the replacement cost. The other thing is, I think you will see your NPS scores go way up for the people who are early on the floor. And then the final piece is you can reduce that nesting time and that time to proficiency.
That's very powerful components there, all of which add up to a better operation and a strong ROI argument that you can bring to your superiors in terms of this kind of training. Very interesting. And so let me ask you, just as a closing question, what are you most excited about as call centers adopt new technology?
Well, as a longtime entrepreneur, the use cases are just it's breathtaking. All the ways that a call center can use AI effectively. And the other thing is call centers have a rich reservoir of data, which is the lifeblood of AI. So I look at, obviously, we were talking about some of these things in call, being able to transcribe and analyze and know how things are going. But one of the other areas I see around training is a lot of money's been spent for quality. So
Mhm.
end of the line quality. Good for you. You absolutely should do it. But the problem with that is if it's not connected to training, then you're really just saying, well, training didn't work. Go back and do whatever I told you to do the first time that didn't work. So what you want to do, and this is a lot of people don't know this, the black box we all know in a crash. But the black box is actually not used, thankfully, most of the time in a crash. What it's used for is maybe the pilot did a hard landing or they did something wrong. It didn't lead to a crash, but maybe almost. So what they do is they have the pilot go to the simulator to do remediation in that area, and then we're all safer. That's what we're seeing more and more, where our simulations are actually being put into the same quality system. So think of that as the black box as the live calls. Now you've connected your training and quality. That also gives you a way for your seasoned people who might, maybe they need to work on certain things. Maybe you've got some new protocols, that kind of thing. Like 737, those pilots were really good with the 737 regular, but not with the max. Same thing with your seasoned people. So I'm really excited about that connection of quality and training moving forward.
Okay. David, we've come to the end of our time here, but this has been great. The concepts are important. I think they're really on point. The analogies are really good too, because they help to wrap our mind around some of the things that you're talking about. And so thanks very much for being on this Call Talk Caramel video, and I look forward to talking to you again very soon.
Been a pleasure. Thank you.